We're excited for to be playing extremely meaningful games with conference championship ramifications every single week for the next 3 weeks. So we'll start with some questions.
Yeah, Dusty, before we get into those games, there's a video circulating on social media the last couple of days about Yaxel. I don't know if you could address it.
Yeah, obviously I saw the video. It's been well circulated to this point. I have social media. I follow social media, so I don't have to say someone showed it to me to act like I don't have it. Yeah, and I spoke at length with Yaxel about it. And the most disappointing part of it is that he feels really bad about how he's perceived from children and those that look up to him. He said, Coach, I don't even use that language in conversation. I don't like the way it makes me look. I feel terrible about it. And then obviously how he's perceived to our fan base and those that he cares about. Look, it's a great lesson. It's one of the reasons he's here. He wanted to learn to be a better pro. And to be a better pro, you need to have the mindset that you're probably always being recorded. And if there's ever a moment that someone can use that information against you, this is an old video. This was back, I think, in May, right after he signed at Michigan. And obviously the excitement of being here, of playing in these games. He's at an establishment after hours, and they ask him a question about the number one team in the country, and he said the things he said. He wishes he would not have, but moving forward, it's a good learning lesson. I can't imagine that a lawyer and TKR and Braden Smith and those guys are sitting around motivated by what Yaxel Lindenberg said in a over 21 establishment 4 months ago. I think that they're killers as is. And so as far as bulletin board material, I'm not sure that that means much when it comes time to execute pick and roll defense or transition defense.
And then just the last one about it. Do you feel the need to address it as a team? Is it just you and Yaxel? Is he going to talk to his teammates, or is it over?
I mean, I just met with one of the other guys. We talked about it. He's talked to his team extensively. I'm sure to be brought up, but no. I mean, we're not going to cancel our travel plans and go the day of the game so we can. I mean, I think that there's a lot bigger things to be worried about. I mean, obviously, this is everything's good for us. He made a mistake. This is a learning lesson. Good. We can't go back in time and change it. I think there's a lot of people in our profession saying things that, if they're in a clear-headed state of mind, they probably wouldn't say. And chalk this up to one of those. But he's a wonderful human being that he'll be better because of this. And on to the next.
Where does Mackey rank for you in terms of daunting arenas? And obviously you have some experience there, and what makes it so tough to play there?
The thing that makes it really tough to play there are Purdue's players. They because they're in those uniforms, and they're old, they're good, they're physical, they have an identity that's been around since I was a little kid. I think I'm 49, so yeah. So for the last 40 years, they have this very similar identity, and they've done a really nice job of adapting to the modern game, to offenses and defenses. They're a creative staff. They've got a good mix of older guys, younger guys. A lot of them have that Purdue DNA there with them, and so they have a really strong culture and program that has been established. So that's the first thing that makes it tough. And then with that, you have a fan base that they show up, and it's part of their routine. When there's a game, they go to the game. They don't go to the game because they're playing this opponent or because it's on a Saturday at the right time. They're there, and that they build their calendar around those games, and so that makes it unique. And then most importantly, outside of the players, it's the energy that the fans bring. They're an educated fan base. They know the game. They appreciate the game. They know what winning looks like, and so them being a part of it is certainly a factor where they're contributing to Purdue's success on a nightly basis. But it's an unbelievable challenge for us that I think our guys are up for. And what another great college basketball night in that environment with the quality of players that are on the court. It's going to be awesome.
You don't want to put an emphasis on any one game more than the others, but when you look back at last year's game at Mackey. How much do you feel like that shaped what came after that last year, and then maybe how you built for this season?
We learned from it, and it was one of the moments that we learned from and stuck in our minds. And to be honest, even now, I told the staff watching these games, watching Purdue play Nebraska or watching Michigan State play whoever, UCLA, watching those games, I said we need to really now take inventory of how difficult it is to play in these games, and as we're recruiting, really try to separate, how good of a shooter he is and his dimensions, and say, can we see him competing at this level in this environment? Because we want to be doing this every year. And so these games, yes, it helped us tremendously last year. It was and it obviously helped that they were a top 5 team, and I think we had immediate results from what we learned from that game. But part of it too is we weren't what we didn't do well last year. They capitalized on, and it got away from us. But as we show, we really improved in the 2 weeks before we came back home, and then the next couple weeks we had a really strong performance against them in the Big Ten tournament as well.
Yeah, you're expected to be the #1 team in the country here in a couple hours. I know that's not the ultimate goal, but what does that say about the program and what you've accomplished so far?
Says that we have a really talented group of people, coaches, players, support staff, everyone involved that make each other better. I think if you take several of our guys away, then we're not near as good. And it's what they bring to the table. It's how we embrace each other and our strengths. As far as the #1 ranking, here's how important it is to me. Someone asked me if I've ever been on a staff, and I said, I think I was on a staff that got up to maybe #3 in the country. I don't know what year. I think I remember the team. So if that makes sense, it means absolutely nothing right now. I don't know what any staff that I've ever been on, what we were ranked at the end of the year, to be honest. I don't recall and don't really care. So it's awesome for our fans. It's cool for the energy and intensity that it brings to the games and being able to do cool things like college game day and whatnot. But as far as internally or me emotionally, it doesn't mean anything.
With the knowledge we might not get you before then, what are you hoping to get out of that Duke game? And I guess how do you view it in the sense of being in a Big Ten race, being potentially #1, but having this non-conference opportunity against Ken Palm #2?
We took that into account when we scheduled the game. We anticipated being in the hunt, and I talked to Brad Underwood about it, and they had a tough showing last year, and for a number of reasons they had some injuries and illness and whatnot. But and I said, with that being said, would you still play it? And he said 100 times out of 100. And I think I've said this before, he's one of the forward thinkers in our game, and it's good for the sport. These non-conference games, I remember being a young kid being glued to the TV to watch a cross-country matchup between two historic programs, and it's different. The ratings show that they're well received by the fans. Obviously, attendance and the people that are looking for tickets, and you tell them to go to a secondary market, and then you start looking what the secondary market is. That shows that this game is going to be good for the game and for the sport. And also with NIL and things like that, we're constantly trying to generate revenue for our program, and we're going to treat it like an NCAA format, where this is a first-round opponent or Sweet 16 opponent or hopefully a Final Four opponent. You have a couple of days to learn someone that you're typically unfamiliar with. Obviously the magnitude of Duke is you're never unfamiliar with Duke. I've seen the Boozers play in South Florida since they were young, but it's an opportunity for us to take a recess mentally from Big Ten play, maybe give us some things to work on, but also just learn something new and prepare like we would for an NCAA tournament meaningful game.
Hey, Dusty, how unique has it been having a documentary crew around, and is it exciting in some way to kind of know that however this season ends, it'll be documented in that way on Paramount+?
Well, I wouldn't use the word unique. It was very difficult at first, just getting used to not being guarded when you have the media in your locker room in a very sacred place. And once we've gotten to know the crew, and they're the best in the business, And so they've made us comfortable with every part of it. Our players have embraced it, and now that we have a relationship with majority of those guys, it doesn't feel like we have a camera crew around anymore. But it was difficult at first. But it also, I think it's important that we pull back the curtains and share how we do things. And it's not going to be the best way for everyone, but it's a way that's constantly evolving for us, and we're always searching for that way for us to function on a daily basis. So I do think it's interesting because we have interesting people and curious people and a group that really cares about others. And so I think it's on a number of levels. And then, when you factor in the success that our guys have had this year, that's icing on the cake. And that was my concern. What if this doesn't turn out like we hope? Is that, and they're like, no, there are going to be great stories regardless. So that helped put me at ease. But I consider myself pretty boring, so I was worried that I wasn't going to live up to the expectations of what a head ball coach is supposed to be. But it's gone well. It's obviously they're going to be with us throughout, off and on. So I think more than anything else, as hopefully we live long enough to retire and have grandkids and look back, it'd be a way to really document some awesome memories with great people.
You often talk about individuals sacrificing for the overall. What do you see Yax having sacrificed in his game to mix in, and how has he adapted to what you were asking of him coming here?
He's adapted very well, and his humility is a big reason why we've been able to be a connected group. He's never wanted to be treated like a superstar, and obviously his salary is well documented. I think if other salaries were well documented, it wouldn't. He would be looked at in a completely different light. And now we're in an era, for whatever reason, these players will tell the fans and student sections how much they make. And so it's not like he's making an exorbitant amount of money compared to the other superstars. He's right on par with them, more than some, less than some. But none of that's ever mattered because of who he is as a person, and the market always dictates those things anyway. But it's been a good fit for him because what I think some schools or others could have expected him to be wasn't who he is. He's an unselfish player. He wants to play within the framework of a team. He doesn't want to just shoot shots. He wants to be involved in rebounding, defending, passing. He's going to make the right play, and I think if he had the pressure of having to put a team on his back, then he wouldn't perform nearly as well or look like the player that he does for us.
Dusty, I know you said the number one ranking doesn't mean much to you personally, but how much stock do you think that the players taken in the national attention they've received this season and the success they've had to this point?
It hasn't changed them at all. I think I love how they share each other's success on social media in real time. These guys show a lot of love to each other. They really do, and it's sincere. It's not fake love, and so that's cool to see because we have a couple guys on our roster that aren't getting the attention that they deserve for obvious reasons. I mean, we'll just stay away from this year's team. Last year's team, Danny and Vlad weren't the only good players we had on our team. We had some other guys that could play this game and were a big part of our success, and they didn't get the attention in the posters and the social because it's two 7-footers doing something that's really, really special and unique. Not that it's better than what they're doing or different than what they're doing. It's unique and it's a great story, and I'm here for it. And so we have some cases like that on this team, and the guys that aren't getting that spotlight, they don't care. They don't care. They don't mind it because the guys who are getting it, they don't act like they're getting it, if that makes sense. And they want to share it, and they don't want it to be on them. They want it to be on us.
The big three of Purdue feels like they've been there forever, and then they add Clough. I guess what has he brought to that mix? It seems like a lot of brute force and rebounding.
Yeah, Clough he's a monster, man. He's a little bit like a die where I feel like the longer the season goes, sometimes guys start looking fatigued. They look like they're in better shape and they're more athletic and they're bouncier, and that's how I feel about Clough. I mean, I think he goes to exhaustion, and so his conditioning is going to get better. He's physical. when the shot goes up, it's warfare. I mean, every single possession, he's not going to take one off. He's going to challenge your fortitude. Him and TKR, when a shot is released, when a ball leaves a shooter's hands on either side of the court, they're going to test your resolve every single possession. You don't have to guess. You don't have to assume. You don't have to check. They're going with force every single possession. So it's going to be a matter of, can we match their force? Can we play with the discipline where when they do beat us, we don't panic foul? And when they do beat us, can someone else come in and help their teammate out with a play that needs to be made? And so to me, those are the things that are going to be the difference in the game. But, yeah, Clough is what a pickup for them.
And then you're not going to give the game plan away, but last year you guys threw a bunch of different looks at them defensively. How important is that against Smith? Because he's seen almost everything, and when he gets in a rhythm, is dangerous, obviously.
I mean, he's dangerous. He has solutions to every problem. Every problem. You just hope maybe our size, strength, speed, athleticism will maybe slow those decisions down a quarter of a second. But we're not tricking Braden Smith. We had a little bit of we threw some junk at the wall last year that we hadn't done. They're like us. They've spent the offseason preparing for any contingency that they think might happen, and it's going to be hard to sneak up on those guys with anything.
What does preparation look like for guys like TKR and Boozer and their physicality that they bring? Is that something you're building throughout the offseason into this, or something that you change within your game plan, kind of game by game?
No, I mean, if we're trying to game plan for that physicality, then we failed in the recruiting process and we failed in the weight room in this summer. Obviously, there's DNA involved, but we have some guys that are physically capable of neutralizing other good players, and so it's going to come down to who can concentrate the longest, who can do the things that the winning requires, and so it always comes down to the execution versus those things.
You talk about forward thinking, and with roster composition being an annual thing in college basketball now, have you kind of changed the way that you prepare for future seasons? Obviously, you're in the moment right now, but do you have to have conversations with guys earlier to know what you're going to need next year and things like that?
I feel like you need to. We haven't. We've been so focused on our season. I do think that, and this might be naive, but I think we're going to be a tough program to leave, all things being fair and equal. And if guys want to leave, like I said from the beginning, we're going to be very, very supportive. Everyone wants something different. If a guy wants to play 38 minutes, history says you're not going to do that here unless we change the way we play. You know, that's another thing too. Like, these guys can hold us accountable. If we lie, if we're full of it, it's not difficult for them to pack up and leave or shut it down during. And so honesty, transparency, their belief in us to help them get better and develop them, and the trust is more important now than ever.
And how about the guys with NBA aspirations that might have that opportunity?
That's the curveball. That's the part that's going to be tough. But once again, if those guys go through the process and the information tells them to go, and we're left being young and inexperienced, then we're going to fight like crazy to put ourselves in contention to play meaningful games, and sure like hell as those guys are getting drafted and playing in the NBA world. That's a good problem to have. That's our help these guys achieve their goals and dreams, and not only that, but be prepared and ready for them as well.